Hey folks, Wednesday was the third night of auditions on Season 3 of The X Factor. Paulina Rubio was missing in action for the first good chunk of the show. Well, apparently she had a concert or something like that, but if I'm being totally honest, it didn't feel a whole lot different from when she's actually there. Poor thing, she has got to know that she is only a judge because ratings are in the crapper, and they can't really afford any big names this season. You know what, though, and I was shocked to find this out, but Paulina actually makes more as a judge than Kelly Rowland. Well, I know she's huge in Latin America, but I would have thought Kelly would have a higher asking price here in the States. She's actually the lowest paid judge. That just don't sound right to me, but I guess by now, Kelly Rowland is probably used to being around other girls that make more money than she does. Anyway, on to the auditions. The first of the night was Shirley and Cynthia. Now, Cynthia is the younger sister, but she started singing first, and then they discovered that they had some kind of connection, so they decided to audition as a duo. Of course you had a connection. You were both hatched from the same womb. I think most likely what happened was that Cynthia wanted to audition, and Mom and Dad said, fine, but you have to take your no-talent sister with you so she won't feel bad about herself. Anyway, they sang I Want You Back by the Jackson 5, and it was a mess and a half. This is what this song would have originally sounded like if LaToya Jackson had been allowed to sing with her brothers. The younger sister was better than the older sister, though. Occasionally, there was even a hint of some marginal talent in there somewhere, but that's probably just because her sister was so bad that she didn't sound as bad in comparison, but they were both pretty bad. So it was 3 no's for them. Next it was 14-year-old Josh Levi. He hopes to one day turn on the radio and hear himself right after Maroon 5. Wrong show, buddy! You need to go down the street to that other show if you want to kiss Adam Levine's butt. It won't get you very far on the X Factor. Anyway, when Kelly asked him what he was going to be singing, he said, "Can I surprise you?" So I thought he was going to be singing something totally out of left field, but then he ended up singing Come and Get It by Selena Gomez. The only thing that was really, that some people might see as surprising about that is it's a guy singing a girl song, but that stopped being surprising like 5 years ago, didn't it? So, no, I thought it was really good. My only problem with this, though, is when he was asking the crowd to sing along, too. Son, having the crowd sing along is only for established singers. So don't hold the microphone up and say, sing it. You sing it. It's not their audition, it's your audition. So I didn't like that, but overall I thought it was a really good audition. Of course the judges loved it. Demi said it was adorable. Kelly said you are a star, and Simon said we could be looking at a future little star. So it was 3 yeses for him. If I were a betting man, I'd say he'll probably end up in one of Simon's manufactured boy bands. Next up was girl group Drama Drama. They want to be the next Spice Girls, and apparently they came up with the name Drama Drama because all teenage girls have drama, which is all fine and good, except they aren't teenagers anymore. They're not very bright, are they? Anyway, they sang Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus, and it was like they hadn't even rehearsed. I know a lot of people think that Miley Cyrus is like the least talented person in the world, but these girls proved that wrong. The whole thing was a mess, so it was 3 no's for them. Now, I read somewhere that one of these girls was on So You Think You Can Dance, but I don't know anything about that because I never watched that program. But I did recognize Jordan Price. She plays Celia Fitzgerald on All My Children. So at least she has a day job to fall back on. Stick with the acting, Jordan, because singing is just not your thing, although her acting really isn't that much better. Anyway, next up was 3 brothers that called themselves AKNU, spelt AKNU. I guess the K is silent? Seems a little bit gimmicky to me, almost as gimmicky as that funny hair. Anyway, they sang Valerie, and they said that they picked it because their mom's name is Valerie, which is not always the best reason to pick a song, but whatever. I thought they sounded pretty good together. Now, 2 of the guys really only sang backup. Kelly Rowland knows a thing or two about that, don't she? I don't know if I like the lead singer's voice that much, though. I mean, they were good together, but I think the dancing was more impressive than anything else. Of course, the judges loved it. Demi said that she got the chills. Kelly said that they just spread their gift throughout the room. That sounded a little bit obscene, didn't it? And Simon said it was like watching Motown over and over again, and he loved it. Isn't it funny that he had just got done telling a string of groups that they sounded old-fashioned, that he loved something that was actually sounded more old-fashioned than the rest of them? They were okay. Next up was 21-year-old Brandie Love. She's an orthodontic assistant, and she thinks that she hasn't been discovered yet because she hasn't been in front of the right people, and I guess it would be kind of tough to get the singing career off the ground while you're busy tinkering with people's teeth. Anyway, Brandie loves country music, but she decided not to sing a country song for her audition because she thinks that her voice is country enough so that any song would sound country, as long as it's her singing it. But when she sang Up to the Mountain, and a lot of country girls sing that song, I didn't think she sounded very country. She did a pretty good job with it. You know, I thought the song was a little too big for her, though. I have heard this song several times over the years on these singing shows, and I thought hers was decent, but kind of forgettable. I've heard it done better. A few times, actually. Paulina said that she's got the X Factor. Simon said, "You took us to church." He predicts great things for Brandie Love, and so it was 4 yeses for her. Next up was a few short clips. Millie Thrasher got 4 yeses after singing Wide Awake, and I think I liked her name, though, better than her audition. Timmy Thames got 4 yeses after singing Lego House. Michael Jackson tried so hard to keep his kids out of the spotlight, he would be appalled to see little Blanket Jackson auditioning for the X Factor. Okay, so maybe it wasn't Blanket, but it sure did look like him, didn't it? A couple of girls that called themselves Yellow House Canyon sang Redneck Woman, and I would have given them no just for the song choice alone. I hate that song, but of course they got 4 yeses. Next up was 29-year-old Vincent Crisostomo. He works in a bagel shop, and he travels with a bodyguard who is clearly just in it for the free bagels. Vincent calls Biggie and Tupac his biggest influences, and what better way to pay homage than to sing How Do I Live by LeAnn Rimes? It was wretched. Obviously, though, Vincent was just trying to get on TV. But I must say, it wasn't quite as bad as when LeAnn Rimes herself sang this song on the show last season. At least this guy wasn't falling over drunk. Next up was 16-year-old Carlos Guevera. He has Tourette's and OCD, and medication doesn't help. Only music does. It's a story we've heard many times over the years, several times. And of course the judges loved him before he ever sang the first note. Can't say I blame him, though. He was an adorable young man. He sang Gravity by John Mayer, and I quite liked it, but it wasn't totally flawless. I think it was good enough for 4 yeses, but the standing ovation was a little bit much, I thought. If he had no story to go with his audition, he wouldn't have got a standing ovation. Kind of like that girl from last week that had the problem with her hands. She wasn't good enough for a standing ovation, but they gave her one anyway. They give the standing ovations for the stories most of the time. Anyway, Paulina doesn't really know Carlos, but she feels really proud of him. Demi said that she could tell that he has a beautiful soul. She don't know. I mean, he seems like a sweet teddy bear, but I've known several people like that who turn out to be the biggest jackasses you could ever meet. Not saying that Carlos is, but Demi don't know. Kelly thought it was magical, and Simon said that Carlos was the best they've seen all day. Next up was Chloe J and CJ. Now, both of them are hairdressers, but tell me then, why did she look like a honey badger had crawled up on the top of her head and went to sleep? I don't know. Anyway, Chloe's been trying to get CJ in bed for a little while now, but he don't swing that way. That's like stating the obvious pretty much, but whatever. For their audition, they sang River Deep Mountain High by Tina Turner. If Tina had ever sang this song sounding like that, Ike would have been justified in beating the daylights out of her, and the audience might have come and helped him beat her up. So clearly it was a no for CJ and Chloe J. Maybe not the least talented Chloe that's ever been on the show, but it was close. When it was over, though, she went down to the judges' table and started molesting Simon Cowell. I mean, she was licking on his face, and then she went down there and started licking on his neck. You be careful with that neck, Chloe. Simon is still kind of recovering from that lifestyle lift that he had last year. Next up was 18-year-old Malie Delgado from Alaska. Why is it whenever anybody from Alaska auditions on one of these shows, everybody acts shocked? I mean, she came from Alaska, not Jupiter, y'all. Anywho, she sang Because of You, and it was okay. I don't think 2007 Simon would have been very impressed with it, but lucky for Malie, you got to be really bad to get a no from 2013 Simon, so it was 4 yeses for her. Next up was 18-year-old Colton Pack from small-town West Virginia. Apparently damn near everybody in the town that he lives in chartered a bus to come to his audition with him, but they're from West Virginia, so you know they're all cousins. No, I thought his mom looked just like that lady from Baywatch. Not Pamela Anderson, the plain one. The one that looked plain, I can't remember her name, but she looked just like her. Anywho, Colton sang Hick Town by Jason Aldean. I hate that song, and I hated this audition. I thought he sounded a mess, and the judges looked like they weren't enjoying it, but they gave him 4 yeses anyway. I think maybe it's because they don't really know anything about country music, and so they knew it sounded country, and they weren't really paying attention to much else, but I don't know, but I hated it. Paulina loved Colin's presence. Demi said that it was pitchy at times, but he performed well. And Kelly thinks he has a unique voice, and Simon really, really, really likes Colton, which is funny because Simon Cowell hates country music. Next up is 15-year-old Danie Geimer. She likes to read. She kind of, to me, came across as fake nerdy. Like, she probably has a million friends and pretends to be nerdy because it's kind of what's in these days, isn't it? Isn't like nerdy cool these days? I don't know, but anyway, for her audition, she sang House of the Rising Sun, and there were some creepers in the audience that seemed to love it, but I didn't love it, at least not as much as I felt like I was supposed to, mainly because you're 15 years old and you're singing a song that is so old that nobody even knows how old it is or who wrote it. I mean, she did a good job with it, although I think it kind of got away from her in a couple of points, but I don't know, this is one of those big show-off songs. It's usually a crowd pleaser, but I don't know if anybody actually goes out and buys this song anymore, and I don't think it tells us anything about what kind of songs that she would sing if she makes it to the live shows. But, of course, the judges loved it. Simon wasn't there for that one, but he would have loved it too. Kelly said, "Miss Thing, you are it." And Demi asked her to take off the hat. The judges acted like they ain't never seen hair before. Anyway, it was 3 yeses for Danie. And the last of the night, returning from last season, was Jeff Goot. Spelt like Gutt with 2 T's, but I guess Gutt doesn't really sound very good, does it? Of course, Demi and Simon recognized him as soon as he walked out, like they didn't have his name on a piece of paper right there in front of them. But Demi told him that he looks better than he looked last season, and he said it's because he's been eating cheeseburgers. It's the first time that I've ever heard cheeseburgers talked about like it was a health food or something, but he does look better. I mean, he looked kind of sickly last season, but he looks good now. I still think he looks kind of like Darren from Bewitched, though, but whatever. Anyway, for his audition, he decided to sing Don't Wanna Miss a Thing. Is he on methamphetamines? What a wretched, wretched, wretched song choice. And to make matters worse, he didn't even sound good singing it. Simon cut him off after a few seconds and said that it sounded like he was trying to impersonate Steven Tyler, which is true, but then he sang Creep by Radiohead, and I didn't think it was a whole lot better. The judges liked it better, and he got 4 yeses, and I do think he has some potential because everybody loves a good comeback story, but he has a knack for picking awful songs, and I think his singing is pretty hit and miss sometimes, so we'll see how it works out. Anyway, I think my favorites of the night were probably Josh and Carlos, but I'd be lying if I said I was crazy about anybody, so maybe tonight will be the night that somebody finally blows me away. Anyway, leave me a comment and let me know if you liked or hated anybody. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, come be my Facebook friend, and I'll see you folks tomorrow.